Hey folks, thanks for tuning in for tonight's webinar. It's Everyday AI for General Contractors, and we are thrilled to be joined here with Murray McCulloch of Coastal Craft AI. So let's walk real quick into just a couple of things, set the ground rules, and then we're going to start with Murray talking about how to use AI in your internal operations of your general contracting business, and then he's going to pitch it over to me. I'm going to talk a little bit about how consumers are using it to find you. If you're not already aware about how effective AI can be to give a homeowner benchmark pricing and anchoring, and otherwise how it can sort of help with your marketing. So, this is a live webinar right now, so please try and tune in, turn off cell phones and Facebooks, all that stuff. And if you take this seriously and apply it, that's the big thing. If you apply it, you can have massive results in your business. So looking forward to having you here. And again, this will be on YouTube for anybody who couldn't make it tonight with us. So what we're going to cover is basically what's changing with AI and how it is helping people pull ahead and win jobs and really get more out of their existing workforce. It's quite a leverage tool. We're going to teach you how to use it daily. So it's not just like something that you touch every now and again, or like something you feel has to be like a massive habit. But otherwise, I don't want to go item for item here, but overall, we're going to show you how it can be approachable, how it can take things you're already doing and make them simpler and faster, and otherwise basically equip you to understand what the people that you're going to be working with on the daily are doing to use AI to find you and to work with you, and how you can sync up with that. So if you are new to GC Sherpa, I'm Kevin Sterling. I'm the founder. We offer marketing programs for general contractors, remodelers, people in adjacent spaces like that who are trying to grow their business. So I've worked in the industry for 15 or 20 years. I don't know, 20 years, I guess, in various capacities of design and marketing and building things with technology. And we try and make things simple. We understand that it's our job to be marketers and your job to be a contractor or a remodeler. And so we try and translate what we're doing so that it makes sense. We work with companies of all scales and have programs that basically scale with you. And we focus on results. And we love participating in all of our trade groups, AGC, NAHB, and all the local chapters as well. So like I said, we are joined tonight by Murray McCulloch, the founder of Coastal Craft AI, who has a background in carpentry and project management, custom home building, and he brings tons of real-world experience into AI and is now an AI implementer, which means that he basically looks at your company and has a ramped system of meeting you where you are and helping you implement AI tools into your business to make you faster, more efficient, more effective, and again, do more with less. So before we pitch it over to Murray, if you were able to catch Murray's episode of the podcast, the Topping Off podcast, there was one question that I forgot to ask when I kind of switched over my normal questions to accommodate Murray as an AI implementer. It's probably the most important question, and that is Murray's topping off tradition. And so, Murray, I'm going to hand it over to you, but I need to know, what is your topping off tradition?
Hey, Kevin. Thanks a lot for having me. Very important question. You're right. For me, I'm actually still an active builder in the field in addition to being an AI consultant. And so, in my install work doing custom homes around the Western United States, my topping off celebration is much like it has always looked for many generations of carpenters, which is once we're at the peak of that roof, finishing it out, we'll oftentimes we're close enough and near enough to a tree, we can just kind of reach over and carve off a little branch and we'll tack it to the peak of the roof. And that's a big celebration for us. And in terms of a topping off celebration at the end of an AI project, I'm not sure. Maybe I would go to an image generation model like Nano Banana and have it create a little tree image for me or something.
Nice. Yeah, very good. Well, thank you. I'm glad we get to feature that.
But yeah, other than that, I'm ready to kick things off and talk to everyone about how we can start using AI as general contractors and make use of this exciting new tech.
Awesome. Take it away, Murray.
Cool. I'm going to share my screen here. So yeah, thanks again for having me. My name is Murray McCulloch, and I'm the founder of Coastal Craft AI. We're an AI consultancy that help general contractors and specialty contractors implement AI into their business. We help with strategy, training, and implementation. So really the goal of my talk here for you guys today is to get super practical and help you understand how to actually use these tools, what they're for, sort of, demystify things, because I know AI is a very, hyped up industry these days, and it can be hard to tell like what's actually useful, what's not. Quite frankly, I think there's a lot of empty promises out there in the media coverage around AI, and I think it leads people to just be sort of misled about what it can actually do. And the truth is, it's an incredibly powerful tool. It's totally transformed my business and my work life, and so I'm here to share some of that with you all. So this is where I start with a lot of people, and I've talked to contractors almost every day who have tried AI. At this point in the game, I feel like most people I talk to have at least tried something like ChatGPT, and a lot of times with little to no success beyond kind of using it as another version of Google search. A lot of people they hear about ChatGPT, they go give it a try, they'll maybe type a question, and yeah, it can be impressive if you're simply, asking it to tell you some fact about history or something, or search for something in the way you would Google. But in terms of actually getting business value out of it, I think a lot of folks end up unimpressed. And so I really want to cover my most practical tip as someone who uses it every day to unlock real value for you guys. So over the past couple of years, I've really refined this process, and it's fundamentally a different tool than we're ever used to. It's not like any software tool that you've had in the past. And so for me, that really means we have to approach it differently. And I believe a foundational part of that is just experimenting and trying stuff. So hopefully what we talk about today and these tips that I share will just give you a jumping off point and help kind of unlock some of these ideas in case you're struggling to see where this actually provides value to a general contracting business. Just to start, for a little background on myself, so you know why I'm here talking to you and why you should listen to me. My background is in carpentry and custom home building, so I started my career as a carpenter, moved my way up to project management, and have been building custom homes for the past 10 years. So I've spent 15 years on job sites. I know the trades really well. I love the trades. And I'm really passionate about bringing this technology to folks that are in the trade, because I know for a lot of people, including myself, like I got into the trades because I love being outside. I love solving problems, and I love learning by doing and doing things in the physical world. And so I've never been a super tech forward person until the last few years. And so, I often joke with my clients that, I've run custom home builds using Gmail and the Notes app on my phone, and that's about it. And we just have better tools than that now. And really, AI has unlocked a lot of capability for me as someone who doesn't know how to code or write software. I don't have a computer science background. My background is in throwing on the tool bags in the morning and swinging a hammer and getting things done. And so the shift for me really happened in 2024 when, ChatGPT had been out for about a year. I started experimenting with AI coding tools, and it really just opened my mind to how we could actually use technology as builders, because the key distinction with AI is that instead of writing code, we're able to just talk to it in plain English, which makes it a lot easier. And so I found I was unlocking all of these use cases and able to start solving problems myself that previously felt just unapproachable. And so in 2025, I transitioned my general contracting business full time to an AI consultancy. And ever since, I've been helping other general contractors implement AI into their business. And now I work with a variety of clients, from smaller design build firms all the way up to like 400 or 500 person utilities contractors and operations of that nature. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the tip. The first tip, and this is going to be, these are all centered around working with a general LLM. So that's a tool like ChatGPT or like Claude. You'll hear me mention Claude a lot. That is a competing product. And personally, I think that is my preferred product for a business use case over ChatGPT is Claude.ai. But ultimately, they're both incredibly powerful tools. And so just know that these tips are designed to be platform agnostic. So whether you're using Google's AI or Microsoft's AI or ChatGPT or Claude, these will all be really helpful. So the first tip is to give AI context about yourself. So almost every AI platform has a place, typically in your settings, where you can give it custom instructions. And so these are a way to instruct the AI how you want to work with it. Tell it what it needs to know about you, because a lot of people will skip this. And so every time you start a conversation with Claude or ChatGPT, it's starting from zero. And so it doesn't know that you're a general contractor. It doesn't know what market you are in. It doesn't know what your typical clients are. It doesn't know what your service offerings are. And so this is an example of something where you basically fill it out once, and then every time, every chat you have, it knows more about your business. So things to include are your role, your company type, your project focus. So, my instructions say, I'm Murray, I run Coastal Craft AI. I'm a consultancy helping general contractors implement AI into their business. Talks about my ideal customer profile, talks about my pricing, my service offerings, all this stuff that saves you a bunch of time from having to tell the AI every single time you use it. And not only does it save you time, but it means that the responses are a lot higher quality because the AI can actually get to know you. And so having these instructions means that it reads these every time you start a new chat. It's going to read that before reading your actual prompt. And so it's just a great way to get a higher quality result. And you just do this once and then it works. And so another tip I want to share related to this is you can actually ask the AI to help you write your own custom instructions. So I often will ask an AI, hey, just interview me to help me write this set of instructions. And that just speeds up the process. Asking the AI to help you can surface things you might forget and might not think to add. And then it will write them out for you, and then you simply copy and paste them right into wherever your custom instructions are, which, like I said, that's typically going to be in your settings or your personal preferences on whichever LLM you choose to use. So that's tip number one. Give AI context about you, about your business. It's going to really help it feel like you have a tailored response and an assistant, so to speak, that actually knows you and knows your business. So tip number two, you're going to notice there's some themes here because I think an important thing about working with AI is to actually ask it questions before you even start working on a project. A lot of people just kind of jump right in there and try to get it to solve a problem. And if you actually just pause and kind of treat it as a thinking partner and a tool that can interact with you and answer questions and have a bit of a back and forth, it's going to really help. So tip number two is to ask AI to ask you questions. And the reason this is so helpful is because a lot of times, you have maybe somewhat of an idea of what you're trying to work on, but having the AI ask you questions back can actually surface things you didn't even think to include. So as an example, let's say you're on ChatGPT and you're working on a SOW for a kitchen remodel. A lot of people will just simply write something like you see here, write me a scope of work for a kitchen remodel. And That's fine, but what you're going to get is a generic response that could apply to any kitchen remodel, and you're going to end up having to rewrite half of it, if not the whole thing. You're going to have to add all these details. And so a simple trick that I like to use, and this can be applied to almost any use case of AI, is when you finish writing your prompt, at the very end, the last thing you write in there before you hit send on your prompt is, ask me some clarifying questions before you respond. So then the AI is going to come back with, hey, what's the budget range for this project? Are there permit requirements? Are there any allowances? What kind of communication style? It might ask about formatting. And this just dramatically improves the output. I really can't recommend this tip enough. I use it all the time, whether you're doing something like this, writing a scope of work, if you're writing a proposal, drafting an email, if you're having it review a document for you, if you're having it build something for you, build a workflow or build a application, like really anything. I almost always, especially if it's a longer, more complicated task, ask the AI to ask you questions back and then go ahead with the work that you're asking of it. It's really quite amazing how much more detailed and well structured the response is going to be, because frankly we forget to include all of the relevant details. And so much in the same way that if you were working on a project with a coworker, they are going to ask you a bunch of clarifying questions. If you were to ask your project manager to write up a work order for you, like they're going to ask you, hey, well, what project is this for? What's the budget range? Which client is this for? All of those relevant details that a lot of people just overlook when you're chatting to an AI, because it's not the same as a human counterpart. But we can learn these sort of tricks to make it feel a little more similar. So that's tip number 2. Ask AI to ask you questions back. I'm sure that you'll be really impressed with the difference. And you can always do a side-by-side, which can be fun. So you can do sort of this before and after, a version where you ask for the follow-up questions and one where you don't. And I think the output will be really clear. So third, I wanted to talk about context and about research. And this is one of the most common problems that I see with my clients. And it's a really kind of an issue with the companies building these AI tools. They're not always great at communicating how we're supposed to use them and educating us on how exactly they work. So this is kind of a two-part tip here. So one, we have the memory problem, which is that AI doesn't remember old conversations. So I have clients all the time who have a chat that they've been going back, like the same chat with Claude or with ChatGPT that they've been going back to for weeks. And they get really frustrated because the output just seems bad and it's not remembering. And that's because every AI tool has what's called a context window. And so that is basically a predetermined amount of text that it can hold in its memory. And so once you've filled that up, every new thing you add is going to start removing stuff from the top of that stack, if that makes sense. And so this is a really common problem, because it makes sense to, hey, I've been working on this chat. I've been going back and forth about this proposal for the last few weeks. And it would make sense, I should just go back into that chat where I can scroll through and see this long conversation history. But unfortunately, what the companies building these tools don't always make clear in the platform is that at a certain point, it's not going to remember. So this is sort of a part A and a part B tip. Part A would be to start a new chapter every day. So rather than going back to an old chat, you want to start a new chat. Sometimes they will give you a little note in there when you're chatting with the AI. It might say something like, this conversation's getting long, or you've almost reached your usage limit. And so that sometimes will be a clue that you should start a new chat. But I just try to tell people, if you're going back to a chat from 2 weeks ago, it's much better to just start a fresh one and give it that context again. And one thing you can do too, if you're running into this issue where you just spent the last hour on a long chat, and now it's hitting those usage limits, or you're getting the message saying, hey, this conversation is getting too long, start a new chat. If you simply ask the AI, summarize what we've been working on so far so I can start a new chat. It'll summarize everything we've just talked about, and then you can copy and paste that into a new chat so you don't lose track of all that progress you just made. And then the second part of this is what I think of as the training problem. And so every AI model was trained up to a certain date. So the issue here is that if you're asking about information that's very recent, for example, if you're asking about a code update from last month or a recent product recall, it's probably not going to know. And so the solution for this is to use what's called research mode. And so both ChatGPT and Claude have research modes, and these are able to search hundreds and hundreds of sources in a matter of minutes and pull in current information. So this is really important if you're doing research where you need accurate and current information. Because again, a lot of people, like if you're asking about a historical fact, hey, tell me a story about World War II, the LLM is going to be able to answer immediately and accurately. But if you're asking about, breaking news, like it's not going to know what happened yesterday because its training stopped up until, it might have been trained up until the end of last year. And so a great way to get around this, if you're ever doing stuff that requires incredibly current information, is to use research mode. And so that's going to be either called research or sometimes it's called deep research. And this is typically inside of that chat window where you're doing your typing. In the bottom part of that window, there's a little plus sign where you can add tools. You can toggle on and off certain capabilities, and that's where you'll typically find this research mode. And so if you toggle that on, the AI is actually going to go out and do current research. And so it's not only good for just getting more current information, but it also is really valuable if you're doing like a robust research project where you need more than like a quick Google search. This is super powerful, whether you're researching a potential client, you're researching a new market, doing a competitive analysis of your business. You're going to want to toggle that research mode on, and it's going to look at hundreds and hundreds of sources and give you a really strong research document that you can review. And I mean, this saves unbelievable amounts of time when I'm researching potential business partners or potential clients or potential markets. And this is stuff that would have previously taken me hours and hours of combing through, news articles and blog posts. And now I can simply kick off that research mode. It typically takes about 5 or 10 minutes. I can go make a cup of coffee and come back, and you have a really impressive document with high quality research that has searched hundreds more sources than I ever would have had time to. So research is really helpful, and I encourage everyone to try research mode and just try it on a basic question like, hey, research competitors to my business in my area and tell me, where you think I can maybe get a leg up or what I'm missing out on that these businesses are doing right. Like, it's really valuable for any time you're doing research. But kind of to close out this tip, I just want to make sure people remember, like, as a rule of thumb, start new chats frequently. AI does not remember your old conversations, so that's the reason you've been getting such low quality output, or it seems like it forgets stuff when you've been going back to the same chat for 3 weeks. It simply doesn't remember. So start new chats frequently, and then if you need current information or you need robust research, toggle on that research mode, and I think you'll be really impressed. So this is kind of the fourth and final of my tips here, and then I'll have a fifth one that is kind of about how we blend all these together. And this one is often referred to as meta prompting, but really just think of it as the AI writing a prompt for you. So this is another really powerful tip that I don't find a lot of people using, and it not only saves you time, but again, similar to asking the AI to ask you questions, it gets you just such a stronger and better response on the other end. So the basic idea here is if you have any sort of project you're trying to work on with AI, whether you're writing a proposal, you're reviewing a bunch of documents, instead of just writing out a prompt yourself, you can actually ask the AI to write the prompt for you. And what this does is it brings in so much more detail than the average person is going to bring to a prompt. I find a lot of people, when they're prompting, they might only do like 1, 2, 3 sentences worth of a prompt. And when you ask the AI to write the prompt for you, it's going to basically include just a level of detail that makes the output much stronger. So as an example, like if you were writing a proposal before sending it to a client, but you wanted to review those proposals against the previous one. So like you have a folder of all your past proposals and you want to kind of check this one you just wrote against the old one. You would just describe the problem in plain English, and then you ask the AI to write a detailed prompt, and you copy and paste that and start a new conversation. So you would hop into your AI tool and you'd say, hey, I'm reviewing a proposal. I'd like to compare it to my previous proposals and flag issues so that I can edit it before I send it to a client. And then before you send that prompt off, you would say, write me a detailed prompt I can use in a new chat to analyze this proposal and make any necessary changes. And then what you'll get on the end is a much more structured, detailed prompt that you can then copy and paste into a new chat. And so this is a similar idea to having the AI ask you questions, and it's incredible how much better the results are. And the other thing is that the AI just knows how to structure this better than humans do. So instead of just kind of a long rambling prompt, it's going to structure it in a way that the AI can read, and it's going to capture a lot of the detail that you might leave out. So having the AI write this prompt for you, otherwise known as meta prompting, is really helpful and has saved me a ton of time. And a kind of rule of thumb that I tell people to remember this is you should be spending more time on the prompt than it takes for the AI to respond. So a lot of people just throw in a 1-sentence prompt and then they're kind of underwhelmed by the quality of the output. But think of the prompt kind of like you would if you were delegating work to a fellow employee. So if you were, if you were running a project and you were giving a task to a subcontractor, like you'd probably talk to them for more than 1 sentence to tell them what you wanted to do. You would explain where you want them to do it, what the project is, what the criteria are for, what completion looks like, what high quality looks like, all these kind of extra details. And so rather than thinking about the prompt as like, oh, I just, say 1 sentence and the AI magically reads my mind. I don't blame people for thinking this either, because that is how it kind of gets portrayed in the media, is that AI is just this magic wand that can, change your business overnight and do anything. And it is really powerful, but it cannot read your mind. So I really emphasize to people, like, take some time with your prompt. Like, think of all the things you should include, and not only text, but you can also upload additional context. So if you have an example of your previous proposal, you can upload those. If you have screenshots or photos from the job site, like all of that information, the more you can load up in there the first time before hitting send on that prompt, you're going to be really happy with the output. So that's tip number 4, let the AI write the prompt for you. And then to kind of tie this all together for everyone, these are tips that all stack and work together. So if you kind of think of them in the order that we just did, like you're going to go into your personal preferences and you're going to set up that personal context. So now every time you're talking to your AI, it knows who you are, what role you have, what your business is, who your clients are, what market you're in. That's going to be kind of the foundation of every future chat that you have. And then you're going to describe a problem. So, I need to research updated energy code requirements for this multifamily project, or whatever it is. You can just describe the problem in plain English, but then before you hit send, ask the AI to ask you some questions. So then it's going to come back and it's going to ask you some follow-up questions, and you're going to give it some more detail. And then you could use something like research mode to toggle that on after. So now it has a really strong idea of not only who you are, it knows what the problem is, it's got the additional details for that problem, and now that's such better context for it to go research what you actually need. And then finally, you can use all of that research to then have it write you a really strong prompt for, let's say, a compliance checklist. So again, this is kind of building with the AI so that the ultimate result on the end is something much higher quality. And so I really encourage people to just try these out and see, because for me, I'm someone who learns by doing. And so it wasn't until I got in there and started trying these things myself that I realized, wow, like once you start giving the AI the information it needs is when you really see the power. So that's just one example of how you can stack all of these tips on top of each other. And so hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And I'm excited to hopefully hear from you all how this works and what problems you've been able to solve with these tips. So this would be my suggestion if you're someone who's new to AI, whether you've been working with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, or if you've never even touched an AI tool, this I would say is a really helpful exercise. So go on chatgpt.com or claude.ai. They both have free tiers you can try out, so you can see which one you prefer. They both have kind of their own tendencies, their own ways of speaking. So really it's a matter of preference. And get in there and fill out your personal instructions. Try some actual tasks that you've been working on, whether it's some email you've been putting off, or a scope of work you need to send out, or comparing materials. And then again, add this to all your prompts before you respond. Ask me clarifying questions. That's going to just really improve that output. And then compare, and try. Sometimes you can also try ChatGPT and Claude side by side. See which one you like better, and then go from there. But the key for people really is to just experiment, get in there and get your hands dirty and try it out. And don't expect that it's going to be, a home run on that first prompt. It takes some practice. So just be patient with yourselves and remember to give it the context it needs, and you'll be impressed with the results. That's what I have for you guys today. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you showing up and listening. If you need help figuring this out, or you feel still kind of lost about where to start, I'm happy to talk. I have my email address up on the screen, so you can write that down and send me an email. I'd love to chat to anyone who's interested in this stuff. I partner with businesses and we work on strategy, training, implementation. And I really try to focus on what contractors need. That's what I bring to this, is not only understanding of AI, but I also know how construction operations work. I know what it's like to be in the field, trying to get stuff done. So I hope I can bring some of that expertise to your business if you need it. And even if you just want to chat for 30 minutes and kind of get a sense of where to start, I'd be happy to talk. So thank you, Kevin, for having me. And I'm going to pass it back to Kevin, and we're going to hear some of his tricks of the trade for marketing for contractors.
Fantastic, Murray. Thank you. And if you're watching this and want to learn about some, I think, real examples that Murray has done with his clients, if you listen to the podcast episode we have, the Topping Off podcast, he talks through some of the typical use cases for his clients and some of the first things that they tackle. So thank you again, Murray. And then now we're going to jump back into marketing and how your customers may be using AI. So it's shifting many, many, many industries, not just construction, but creative, legal, operational things. It just seems like it's disrupting everything it touches, and in some ways good, some ways bad. Marketing is getting faster and more competitive. Facebook purchased an AI tool called Manus, and it's actually embedded in your Facebook app now, where you can see in the sidebar Manus, and if you go to that, it will let you launch that app which again is intended to work very closely with Facebook. So that's changing the game. Homeowners are expecting instant responses and the ability to get information that they want immediately. And how you're able to present yourself in these AI search tools is a whole new frontier. So if you're familiar with SEO, search engine optimization, now there's AEO, ask engine optimization, and GEO, generative engine optimization. Both of those things are becoming important things for you to consider. And first to market in your market is going to be the dominant player. And so right now, very likely no one around you is bothering to do it. So if you bother to do it, you're going to come out on top. So old way, new way, you've got paper plans, phone tag, manual logs, job site chaos. Now plans can be digital, messaging can be instant, reporting can be automatic, streamlined job site. And a lot of that is AI is not just providing information for you as we're giving you content, but it can actually help set up automations, which is a lot like what Murray does with his clients, is helping what you're doing in a process standpoint work better, faster, and more efficiently. So like we said, contractors who are using AI are pulling ahead because they can be faster, because they can respond immediately, and they can book jobs. So being consistent is going to beat somebody who is doing this stuff occasionally. And again, slow systems is missed opportunities. I listened to something yesterday where they said, if you don't return the call for 7 hours, the person has probably already called 2 or 3 people in between that time, and they've already gotten what they needed to know and probably set up some appointments. Used to be referrals and flyers and manual processes, and there's still a place for a lot of those things. Like most of your business is going to come from referrals, but what do you do when referrals dry up? So that's sort of why you have a digital marketing system, is to create that buffer around you. So all of what we do is not meant to replace referrals. That's never going to happen, but basically to give you a hedge so that if there's a downturn, if your referral network starts to age out, or they're moving. Like I live in New York, like we're one of the states in the country where there are the most people leaving the state, which has really impacted a lot of contractors because everybody that they hope to work with have now moved, to the South or to be with their kids or whatever. But there's opportunity in that because new people are moving into those same houses that those other people left, and they may want to customize things to fit their liking, but they don't know you and they don't know anybody in the area. So what are they going to do? They're going to go on Google, or they're going to go on ChatGPT, or they're going to go on Claude, and they're going to have new pathways to finding contractors that they want to work with. So we're looking for effort to be decreased. Like you don't want to have it to work as much and get less results. You want to work less and get more results. So you want to use AI as a lever to take you where you want to go. And speed to lead is kind of a phrase that gets used a lot, that the person who's doing it the fastest is and getting to in front of the consumer immediately, they're the ones that are winning. So less admin work, faster follow-ups, more consistent marketing, and more book jobs without a lot of extra time doing it. All of that frees up your time so you can focus on your core role. What everyday AI actually means. This is an example that I showed. So I live in an old house. It's like 100 years old. Some of the things are updated, some of the things are not updated. And so I'm going to play this video and I'm going to walk through me as a homeowner with an old house who needs to hire a contractor, what ChatGPT is telling me, and how people in my area are actually showing up in it. Hey contractors, I wanted to show you something that if you haven't gotten into the AI game, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, and you're thinking, nobody uses that crap, I want to show you something. So what I've got here is something I did in my own house, right? Where I uploaded pictures of an old dingy bathroom that we have that needs repair, needs to get remodeled, right? So I'm the homeowner in this case. I uploaded it and said, act as a general contractor. We have this outdated bathroom. Tell what the situation is. ChatGPT then says, assessment of the current setup.
blah, blah, blah. Should I reglaze the tub? Should I convert it to a shower no tub? Trade-offs of each. Shows me mock-ups about what that might look like. Pros, cons. Option B, gives me options. Removing tile, talks all about how it's probably water damage. And here we go. My recommendation as a contractor, given, here you go. If you want, I can mock up here. Now here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to type in here, can you recommend contractors near me, my town, that would be a good fit for this job? So check this out. This is not Google search. This is not the yellow page. This is not me looking on Facebook. This is me talking to ChatGPT about my bathroom job and then saying recommend contractors, and then here we go. It's recommended contractors. Then it's tips for hiring, all this. But my question is, this is the future, right? Like, this is not going anywhere. So are you doing anything to address it? And if you're curious about what that looks like, then I encourage you, just book some time with us and let's talk about what your options are. So stay on top of it, stay warm. Thanks for listening.
I couldn't have said that better myself. So AI is a tool. It's not a replacement. It doesn't replace contractors. It's supporting what you already do. In many industries, there's a lot of hype about like, wow, we're cutting our workforce because AI is replacing people. But AI is really meant to augment what people are able to accomplish. So if you're cutting staff and replacing them with AI, it means that you're not actually fully utilizing the people that are already on your team. Like ideally, a team of 5 can do the work of 25 instead of cutting to 2 to do the work of 5. So it's meant to expand your capacity. So responding to leads, these are all ways that it can happen on the daily to you. So through automation, through AI, you can respond to leads via text message, via email. You can actually have phone agent call them and set up appointments based on have them field questions. And if you're leery of voice AI, it's getting so much better all the time that like realistically there are people that don't always know that they're talking to somebody in AI that can set the appointment. So then you show up with the context of the job, with knowing what people want, and you can close the job as long as everything lines up. But emails, messages, something that we didn't really talk about yet is you can also prompt AI tools through your voice. So if you're driving all the time, you don't want to type, you can basically prompt it and say, please respond to this email, tell them blah, 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 blah. And it will draft, again, if you've prompted it correctly with your settings in your voice, it will write a response to whatever you want it to be. It could be, hey, I'm going to walk the job site and give client, recap of what we did for the day. Is easy example, but like you can use your voice to prompt it, and people who are software engineers, they can actually speak faster than they can type. So there are pro level people that are building AI tools that are actually just speaking through what they want to accomplish instead of typing it. But social media, ideas about what to do, ideas about how to take better photos, all those things, that's bread and butter, easy stuff for AI. Organizing notes and tasks. Like actually, when we started this webinar, we had somebody's AI note taker showed up. We actually booted it. We want people in here. But like that AI note taker could go back to the person and say, here's what they covered, in that program. So it fits into what you're already doing and makes it bigger, better, faster. It's just kind of like a life cycle of like AI augmentation. So it can help with scheduling, it can help with procurement and sourcing, like with the research capabilities that Murray talked about, helping with management and time automation and even setting up dashboards to see like, are you on schedule, and like all those things. And they're obviously, you're probably using a software on the job site anyway. A lot of those softwares are now being augmented by AI or integrating into AI tools. Safety and compliance. I really liked an example that Murray had talked about in the podcast about like if you're using certain systems of products for framing or mechanical or what have you, you can actually upload all the material spec sheets into an AI tool, so that when you're on the job and need a particular piece of data, it already knows it, already has it. It's a lot easier to find it. Like, you, again, with the voice, hey, tell me about this item that I need to know about, and it's going to spit out the answer, saving tons of time, versus having to look it up yourself. And of course, estimating, like what I showed you in the video. So me as a customer, I now have what's called anchoring to a price, that like if a contractor comes to me and says, oh, it's going to be like 10 times what you thought it is, it's probably going to throw a red flag. And that doesn't mean that the AI is right, because obviously I'm like shooting from the hip, but psychologically, I have been anchored into understanding like what realistic prices are for my area, and probably going to look around until I find somebody that meets that. So AI for getting more leads. Reality, they're not always browsing and going on. And if you're a remodeler and somebody who's doing like long sales cycle, sort of like long lead jobs, they're not just like Googling that they need a remodel and calling you immediately to start the remodel. It's a lot of research. They may be doing stuff in chat. Like right now, I'm taking pictures of the exterior of my house and sort of like plugging through ideas about like what I want to change. And I actually like plugging in floor plans and having it assess like, am I making room allocations the way that they need to be? It's all before I'm like talking to a designer, an architect, or anything like that. And Google is determining what shows up on like the generative AI, the Gemini search. Like when you Google something now, AI is often showing up at the top. They're determining who shows up there. And the crazy thing is, they're not clicking into your site. So like, you're not going to see that, okay, well, my traffic is going up. Like realistically, your traffic might be going down, but if you're the top of the AI rankings in search, your leads ideally are going to be going up, because people are they're not going to your site. They're just getting the results, information they need, and then they're either calling or contact you or DMs on social media. So these are just like some examples. One of our clients, like today, this is like sort of where leads are coming from as we move into this AI world. So Google Business Profile is still the bread and butter. And then again, like this is your standard search. But then here, this is where you're actually getting the AI to show up. So Gemini has now given you an AI result, because this client, like we are doing the work on their site to make sure that they're showing up in their local area for AI search. And if you're not already doing it, you absolutely have to make sure that you're getting reviews. If you think about, we're going to focus on Google for a moment. They want to make sure that like they're giving the best answer. And OpenAI, which runs ChatGPT, and Anthropic, which runs Claude, they all want to make sure that they're giving you the most accurate information available. So again, when Murray's talking about like their learning gets updated, and like they want to make sure that they have like things that are up to date and accurate. So like having 5-star reviews, having real project photos, all of those things are quality indicators to tell those models like, okay, this is the way to go. Like you have trust that you can build in this, because they're consistent, because they have other people validating it. And that's, again, really what, at the end of the day, their reputation is based on how effectively they can make recommendations. Often, like we talked about, they're not just coming in and saying like remodeler near me. I mean, they might, but like general contractor services, it's more like questions associated with what they want to do. Like, how much does a kitchen cost in my area? Or like, give me a craftsman style cabinet kitchen, things like this. Or like top rated contractor near me. And like, you have to attack those terms if you're not already doing it, because it's not the old way of doing it was basically just like these short little phrases, and now it's sort of like asking an actual question. Let's see, content. Most contractors here, like they're not posting on the Google Business Profile. They don't post on their blogs. Like they don't do anything that connects their location to, their business to a location. Like it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when I go on Instagram and I find a contractor who like has a good profile, like puts out a good post, but I go to the profile and I'm like, it doesn't actually say where you even operate. So like, how is anybody going to know if you're even in the ballpark to work with you? So all these things are missed opportunities. And again, somebody who shows up and is actually investing in covering those bases, like that's the person that wins hands down. Let's see. So here's how you can turn one job, and this is sort of like that leveraging capability. So this is like how you can turn one job into 5 assets through AI. So like take your photo, brief description about a project that you did. It could be before and after photo, it could be a video, post it in one of your AI tools. Say, please provide a Google Business Profile post for me for this. Please give me a layout of like a feature page for my website. Give me 3 to 5 social posts based on this, before and after mock-up with captions, short form video script. Again, like writer's block is one of the biggest hangups with contractors that like don't really know what to say. If you don't know what to say, just ask it to give you a script and say like, I want a 30-second script for me to read to talk about this. Boom. It's so easy to do it. And then FAQ style content. We talked about questions and how all these AI tools love sort of like questions and answers. So FAQ content, not only your social media, but like putting it into your website, that's what it's going to look at first, because it's, you know, it's ask engine optimization. So like people are asking questions, and if you're the one that's giving them answers frequently, then that's putting you at the top. And bread and butter newsletter, again, it can write the whole newsletter for you, provide graphic, provide mock-up, and again, like it's over 5 assets out of a single thing because you just put it into AI with a few prompts. So simple workflow, we basically just went over this. Like you're taking photos, dropping in AI and generating it, speeding up your sales. So what happens, like no one is likely going to one contractor for remodel or any kind of like large job and then saying, okay, great, yeah, let's do it. Like they're shopping around. Some people automatically bracket the middle. Some people go for the lowest price, but you have to know that like you are very likely not the only person vying for the job. So who's responding first? That gives an immediate thing. Immediate advantage, because at that point you also help to anchor expectations with the client. So if you come in and say like, yeah, realistically, like it's going to be X price, going to take X amount of time, that then sets the expectations that when they talk to the next person, you know, that person may be wildly high, wildly low, or right on par. And if you're right on par, they talk to you first. So as long as you did a good job, know, like, trust, your basic sales stuff, you've got the advantage. So how AI can improve this? Inquiry comes in, could be text, could be call, could be a form submission, automated response, which there are plenty of little chat tools now, easy to install on your website, where people can talk to your AI chatbot. That chatbot can answer a lot of their questions, and it can also help, again, set that appointment. So they are then talking to you at the time that is convenient for them, at the time that's convenient for you, and you're not answering the same questions all day. And it can even help vet them and say like, hey, how soon do you want to start this project? Do you have photos of the area? Have you measured anything? Like you can teach it what you want to get so that you're pre-qualifying people. So again, you roll up into that meeting basically having a dossier of like everything you would have asked them anyway. And so instead of just going in and repeating the same questions, you can actually say like, hey, I got all your information from, you know, our intake form. Thank you. Let's talk about the job. Real life, again, this is just kind of like what we talked about here, so I'm not going to recap everything. But simple system you can use today: set up missed call so that it either automatically calls the person back or automatically texts the person back. AI assists, push them to the next step. Like again, like if you're not already using a CRM, it's going to be very difficult to grow to the degree that you probably want to grow without having some system in place. And I say this as someone who like am not at my heart of hearts a sales guy. And so like I'm always trying to figure out and be better at like moving people through the pipeline and making sure that I'm not just responding to text on my phone, and I'm not just responding to emails in my inbox, but the hub of everything we're doing, like, is that CRM. And I'm finding it to be quite amazing that when I really stop and take stock of like questions that I answer all the time, I can actually automate all these responses, and it saves so much time, and it actually gets done faster and more consistently. And lo and behold, better business results because of it. So we touched on this, but we're just going to go a little bit more into social media. It helps with writer's block. It helps figure out captions. It helps set your calendar so that if you're, again, if you think about social media one day at a time, you're going to have like 1 or 2 days consistent, and then you're going to drop off. I guarantee it. I see it literally with everybody. But if you say, hey, I want a 30-day calendar and I want to do all my posting on 1 day a week, it's going to be so much easier for you to take the half an hour and do 5 or 10 posts at once and then schedule them out based on a framework that it can give you. So if you don't already know, like, you're on a job site, you're driving to job sites, you're talking to people, all that is content. Like, people want to hire people they know, like, and trust. So if they can know you and like you and trust you, and how are they going to trust you? Like, if you treat people well on the job site, if they go to the, if they're seeing your job site, it's relatively clean. There's not cigarette butts around. There's not garbage laying around. Like, it looks safe. If the homeowner's there, is the homeowner happy? Is the homeowner, sort of disgruntled that you're there and filming? All those things are readable by people that they're going to say, like, either, yeah, I'd be good having that person and their crew in my house, or no, I don't want anything to do with that. So AI can turn all that activity into content. Here's like some examples again from one of our clients. So before and after photos, super easy, but AI can help augment, sort of like the framing and the branding to make sure it's all consistent with the client. Here we're going to do another video. This is going scenes. Yeah, so super easy. I mean, they literally just put the camera on a tripod or leaned it up against something, made sure the angle was good, and hit record. And they didn't have to do any editing. They provided it to us. We use AI tools to help edit everything and mix up the audio, the creative, and at the end, call to action to call them. But, working with us, that client is able to do it consistently, and they don't have to do anything besides just what they're already doing. They're just documenting it. So again, education doesn't always have to be doesn't always have to be what you're doing or like who you are. Sometimes it's setting you as the authority. So you can talk about trends, you can talk about material selection. Here it's like talking about cabinets. And again, like, you may not have a job in your portfolio to correlate to what you're actually going to say, but again, like, AI can easily generate something that is certainly passable and like gets the point across. Proof. So this is one of their 5-star reviews. And again, have an automation system that makes getting 5-star reviews easy. Highlight those 5-star reviews in your social media and set yourself apart. So this is just kind of an example. Doesn't, you don't have to post 5 days a week. Doesn't have to be 7 days a week. But stick to themes and it'll be so much easier. If it's, hey, look, before, after, process, tip, insight, project highlight, or testimonial, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And in the context of a month, like, people aren't saying like, oh, every Monday they do this. Like, people don't pay attention to that at all. They literally just look at, what do I see now? Do I like it or not like it? Scroll, like, share, love, comment. Depends on what you're posting. So ops and time saving. So you've got emails. We've talked a lot about that, jumping between switching tools. When you kind of get your feet under you with AI, all these tools now can connect to other tools. So, I have Claude reading my email inbox, and every day sends me a report of like what the most important emails that I need to respond to are. It also looks at my calendar and tells me where I'm like not spending enough time on things that I've told it are my goals. So again, like when Murray was talking about all these tools kind of being a little bit better than one another at different things, I'm kind of getting to the point now where I like have Manus working on things, ChatGPT working on things, and Claude working on things. And then if I'm curious how they're going to interact, I'll actually cross pollinate them into one another and say like, hey, I want you to read this. I want you to read that, poke holes in it. And again, it's like amazing the kind of results you can get out of it. Things that used to take weeks back and forth with collaborators and whatnot, you could like do yourself in a couple of hours or less. So again, these are just things you can play around with. I'm not going to read them to you, but you've probably already read them. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. That can happen if you are wearing too many hats in your business and you're stuck in too many things. Too many things are just like bogging you down. So you really need to think about like, where am I losing time and effectiveness, and how can I start leveraging getting out of it? So again, data entry, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to review everything. Like I've been amazed. I did a project, like a really high-end brand, not in the construction industry, but like for a friend. And it was able to look at like that high-end brand guidelines and then look at a draft and then give me a mock-up of like, here's the things that you need to fix to make it compliant. So incredible. Approvals, corrections, report generation, all that stuff used to be slow and tedious. And so much of it can be automated now that you really just have to start figuring it out step by step. Call with client, you can get the notes. You can also set up step 2 where the notes go into the estimate automatically. Estimate turns into email. Or if you have a team that's in a project management software, those notes, that estimate can immediately go out to them as to-dos for their radar. You can start setting up schedules. All of this is like in the everyday capability of AI in your business. This is just kind of like estimate of time savings. So like if you're spending 5 to 10 hours a week and you can put that to 1 to 2, it's 80%. And I'll go high level here, but like 80%, 90%, 75, 85, 80. You can save up to 85% of your time taking 22 to 43 hours on like nonsense stuff that really bogs you down into 4 to 6 hours. And let's say like, if you're saying, yeah, right, there's no way, you're not going to do that overnight. You're not going to do that the first day that you do it. But like, if you start saying, hey, I'm going to add an hour onto my lunch break every day, and I'm just going to play with AI, I'm going to guarantee you in a month, you are going to be significantly better at utilizing the tool and finding ways to leverage the tool than you were when you first started. And like, you're going to start doing more with less time. So these are some things, again, like I'm not a contractor, so we don't use these specifically, but if you, sorry, I have a mosquito in here, that time of weather, I guess. So these are tools that can work directly with your contracting work, remodeling or otherwise, facilitating your business. We just wanted to highlight them, that these are not just general tools like a Claude or a Chat or a Manus, but these are actually construction specific. So we've got those 3, and then these also, that again, like maybe taking things that you're already doing and automating it through AI and augmenting it through AI. And it, like, this is a kind of a random example, but like my wife was using like a nutrition app, and she used to use these things. Like a lot of people might know MyFitnessPal. It's like a really popular one. And like you would enter all your meals, and it's really tedious and annoying. And like it would count your calories because you entered it. And now, thanks to AI, every meal she's basically taking a picture before she eats, and because it knows what kind of calories she should have every day, it'll actually say, okay, that meal is like on pace with like what you're having for the day. Like, that's great. Or it might say like, why don't you partition off some of that and save leftovers? It's all doing it. So it turned time savings, it turned, okay, having steak, having potato, having broccoli into picture, boom, done. So I hope you're imagining how that could help you in your business to have the capability of like turning a single action into replacing like 15 things that you used to do. These are the same tools that Murray mentioned. I'm not going to recap them. Let's see. Don't overcomplicate it. Make sure you have a goal. Watch out for your generic output. These are all things that Murray kind of covered. So like listen to what he said in terms of like how you approach it. And then we have a game plan checklist here. So, if you're thinking about how can you get in the game here, we'll make sure this is in the show notes. But basically, we have like a little document that can make sure that you get well on your way here. Takeaways, think about what you learn. Would you notice anything that you would like to share with us? You know how to find us. We'll recap our contact info coming up. If you're interested in talking to us, you can comment on this YouTube video or in the chat. And we also offer, this is like a standing thing for us, if you want us to look at your marketing, your area, what your competitive environment looks like, schedule some time, talk with us. We'll provide a full comprehensive report free of charge and, get what your opinion is on it. Like, do you feel like you are pacing to reach the goals that you have for your business based on kind of like where you are now in your market? So again, thank you for being here tonight with us. This is going to be on YouTube so that you can watch it at your own discretion. And you can call us, you can email us, hit us on the website, follow us on social media. And again, we thank you. So appreciate it. And we'll see you at the top.